Hey, this is a TouchDesigner tutorial for my creative coding students. It's really just to answer some questions that happen in class. I showed it in class, but here it is slower and on video. And what we're going over is kind of like how to deal with keyboard input. This is a kind of a specific example, but I think it's probably handy for people to see. Also, I'll show some Python at the end and how one line of Python can, replace maybe 10 different operators all in one swoop. But I'll also explain why that may not be such a good idea. So let's look at this. Right now I've got a circle. I'm combining it using composite with a color. And that makes it an orange circle in this case. If and I've got a switch here so that I can change between three different colors, constant 1, constant 2, and constant 3. Those are just solid colors. As I move the index, it cycles between those. So that's great. What I want though is for the keys of the keyboard to cycle through them. Not cycle through them, but to be able to choose them. This should be the key 1 on the keyboard, that should be 2, and that should be 3. So the first thing I'm going to do is add a keyboard in, and it is technically possible to just add all 3 keys here. There's the 1 key, there's the 2 key, and there's the 3 key, and you can see it makes 3 channels in this one chop. But for what I'm doing, I think it makes more sense to just keep it as separate chops. So there's 1, there's 2, and there's 3. And their names luckily correspond to that, so it makes it easy to look at. I will change this one to key 2 and this one to key 3. And you can see that when I press the 1 key, 2 key, and the 3 key, they kind of light up, right? They're changing from 0 to 1. What I need is eventually a number that's either a 0, a 1, or a 2 over here. So what I can do is leave this one alone. Key 1 should show up as 1 when I press it, but key 2 should show up as 2 when I press it. So let me add a math. And the way I can do that easily is just multiply it times 2. So now when I press the 2 key, it changes from 0 to 2. Let me add this one and say this one should be multiplied times 3. So now when I press 1, I get a 1. When I press 2, I get a 2. When I press 3, I get a 3. That seems like a good start. Were a couple things though. One is I need one single number, and this is 3 separate chops entirely, 3 separate channels. So what I can do is I can add a math here and combine all 3 of these chops into one by choosing combine chops, add. That's the method of combining them. So when I press 1, I get a 1. When I press 2, I get a 2. When I press 3, I get a 3. Now there is a detail here. When I press 3 and 2 together, I get 5, but that may not matter for us. We'll see. So the problem, of course, is that it goes right back to 0. What I can do is just make a null here and pretend that we're ready to go. We're going to use that to replace the index. I'll make a chop reference. And 1, 2, 3, it works, except that it always goes back to this one. Well, it actually doesn't really work, right? Because 2 is blue and 3 is blue. So we've got a problem. First of all, well, let's deal with 2 problems. One is that the range is not correct, right? It's going 1, 2, 3, but it actually should be going 0, 1, 2. That's one problem. The other problem is that it goes back to 0 when we let go of everything. So the first thing I'm going to do is I will insert a hold operator here. A hold chop will allow us to keep whatever number is coming in and kind of make it sticky. But you'll see that it doesn't actually work. So 1, 2, 3, it doesn't actually do anything. And that's because it needs a trigger. So there's a trigger input here, or you can hit the button here for to hold it. So let's try it. Like if I hold down the 2 key, it's going into the hold. And if I hit pulse, it grabs it and latches it. Even when I let go, it's latched there. So that seems good. But I don't want to have to push the button. I want it to happen automatically. And the way I can do that is feed something into the trigger input. And it turns out there's like a nice little side effect here. The trigger input will take a number, but if it's a 0, it won't actually trigger it. So if it's a 1 or a 2 or 3, it will. If it's 1500, it will trigger it. So by connecting the number here, the actual channel number, channel value over here, when it's 0, it won't trigger the hold. When it's 1, 2, or 3, it will. So if I press 1, it holds it. 2, 3. Great. I'm in good shape. Again, I can, well, pressing 5 doesn't do anything, but pressing 2 and 3, oh, that doesn't, oh, that's good. It kind of gets rid of that. That's a good byproduct. It keeps me between 1, 2, and 3, actually. Nice. If we needed to limit it, there's a limit chop we could use, actually, Yeah, limit is a good one. But in our case, we're good. So I think that's it. Well, actually, the last thing is it's going 1, 2, 3, and we need it to be one less than that. So I can just add a math chop right before the end and say that it should add -1. So now I've got 0, 1, 2 when I press the 1, 2, and 3 keys. That's that. Perfect. Now I'm going to take all this stuff. I'm going to, not all of it, take all this stuff, move it over maybe a bit so that it's, so we get some nice, neat arrangement of lines here. And then I'm going to take all this stuff that is figuring out all the work of handling key presses, and I'm going to right click on an open part of the canvas and choose collapse selected. So what I've done is I've collapsed all that stuff into one neat little component that does all the work of catching the keys. And what I might do is call this like key press handler. I don't know, whatever. So this is nice. I will say also, Lilia asked about, just as we were ending class, like how can you get the circle to show up or not based on a key press. So let's say I'm going to add one more and it's keyboard in. I will make this pay attention to the 0 key. And if I just, let's say, make this go out to a null and feed that to what we've done before, the alpha. So if it's an alpha of 0, it disappears. If it's an alpha of 1, it shows up. So now when I press the 0 key, it does show up. But Lilia's question was like, how do you get it to toggle? So you hit 0 and it shows up and stays showing up, and then you hit it again and it turns off. So, you know, it'd be nice if there was just like a toggle chop or something like that. And there could be something that I haven't seen, but the way I figured it out was just kind of going through the chops that were there. And I saw one that is counter, which we've used before, I think. Count. So what you can do is if I hit 0, it counts up, right? But I can limit it to just be between a minimum and a maximum. So if I go 0 to 1, it should loop between 0 and 1. So let me reset it. And then I will hit 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. So you see it just goes back and forth between 0 and 1, even though I'm telling it to keep counting. It has to stick within that 0 to 1 range. Great, another problem solved. Now I want to show you a little bit more. I'm gonna, how can I do this? Let's disconnect this by just dragging this around. You can see it lost the connection there. Do I need this? I'll lose that connection too. Don't care. Okay, so now I've got this stuff and I'm gonna move it down here so I can show you how this might happen with Python. So it's a lot simpler actually. So let's try this. Like I will do a keyboard in, and I'm going to pay attention to keys 1, 2, and 3. Got all 3 channels here in one chop. And what I'm going to do is drag out here and hit tab, and under dat I can do chop execute. And what that will do is make a connection between these two. And it says anytime something changes here, it will likely call the code that's in here. This is all Python code. There are 4 or 5 different functions. Only some of them are actually used. It depends on what you select over here. So even though the code is here, they won't actually run unless you check it off here. That's just to make it a little more efficient, I think. I'm not so interested in knowing when the values change. I'm actually interested in when they change from off to on. So when any of these change from off to on, it should trigger what's in here and call this function called on off to on. A little awkward, but on off to on will run whatever's in that chunk of code anytime one of these changes from off to on. Let's just hit viewer active here. There is a way to edit this in a different editor, but this is very small, so it'll be fine to edit right here. What I want to do is, first of all, when one of these changes from off to on, let's just try the simplest thing we can in Python, which is to just print hello every time one of those changes. So where does that show up? I can press 0, 1, oh, well, sorry, 1, 2, 3. It's not actually showing up anywhere. So under dialogues, you can go to text port and it'll show up here. You can see there it is showing up. But I can also do a split pane here and make this pane. Can I move this over? I'll make this pane show up as the text port. Okay, so when I hit 1, 2, 3. It's showing hello there. Not super useful. Maybe what I can do is you can see that there are a few pieces of information that are available within this function. These are things that get sent into the function, arguments to the function. So obviously this is related to a channel or a series of channels. So what if I just print channel? Does that work? I don't know. Oh, okay. So what it's printing is whatever channel went from off to on, it's printing the value of that channel. So there's 0 or 1, right? If I did on to off, it probably would show zeros here because that's changing to 0. Okay, but what about finding some other kind of information? So first of all, what is channel? This is obviously one of these channels, but how do we find out like what else we can access from that channel variable? If we go over, well, the easiest thing to do is just hit this Python help, which is everywhere. There's Python help, and there's a Python class reference. There's also just a Python link here. If I go down here to channels, channel class, if I click on that, it shows me that these are members, like, you know, it's channel.valid, channel.index. These are things that I can access, channel.name. Let's see what that does. So if I print channel.name, when I press one of these, it shows me actually the name of the channel. That's useful. But actually channel index might be more useful. That was one of the members that it allowed me to access. 1, 2. So it actually shows me 0, 1, 2 here. I mean, I'm already there, right? Like this is the number that I need for this switch over here. Let's close this because I don't really care anymore about, how do I do this? I always get confused. Okay. I don't really care about the text port at the moment. I'm not going to print anymore. What I want to do is I want to take this channel.index and I want it to show up over here under index. Now, first of all, how do we access parameters? Because this is a parameter. I'm trying to access this parameter called index. It's important not to go by the name here, but when you click on the plus, you get a name that's the kind you can use in Python. So if I click here, the parameter is not called blend between inputs, it's called blend. So let's over here just try, let's try something else. I'm going to make a circle top off to the side here. And actually, I'll do it over here. So I've got a circle top. And let's say I just have a constant chop. It's just a number. It's the number 5. Okay. Let's make it point something. 0.3, right? So this is going to become the width of my circle. How do I do that? Well, same as always. I just make this viewer active. I drag this over to my circle. I choose the radius. That's the width. I'll drop it and choose chop reference. And it works, right? Like as I change this number over here, we should see the size of the circle change, and it works. But if you click here and choose this plus sign, you can see this is actually showing that this is the channel where that information comes from. So that's how we access channel data. Very easy. Now, what if instead I want to go the other way? Let's do a text top. I want to show the channel name instead of the word derivative. So now we've got a parameter that we want to change from this end. So how can we do that? Well, it turns out you can actually just drag, you know, we're not dealing with the output of the channel. We're dealing with a parameter influencing another parameter. So I'll drag this parameter name over to text. That didn't work. Hold on. Name. And choose reference. And now channel 1 is the text that shows up here. So this is a little different, right? This one is showing to get the channel data out of here. This one is showing how we would access a parameter. So this parameter, text, is actually referencing this other parameter from over here. So in both cases, we've got op, which is saying look for an operator with the name constant4. And then within that, look for the channel called chan1. For this, we're saying, again, find the constant4 chop, and then look for a parameter with the name const0 name. So we're seeing how to access a channel through Python, and also how to access parameters through Python. So given this kind of example, let's see if we can go back over here and make this work. So we know we've already got the channel index, which is our 0, 1, 2, but can we set a parameter from our switch1 operator using Python? So again, this is called switch 1. We're going to access a parameter. The parameter name I know is called index because I looked over there. And it's just coincidence that these are both called index. This is channel index is the number of the channel that was changed. And then this is actually a parameter called index because that's the index of our switch. So now if I press 1, 2, 3, it's working. So we reduced all of this stuff up here, like all of these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9 chops or so. We've reduced down to just this one keyboard in and one line of Python. So that seems great. It seems like, it's good to have kind of things be more compact. But if we look up here, this is compact too. So making a bunch of operators into a container works just as well. The main difference is that, over here we had a dotted line going to our switch. So just by looking at the network, we could kind of understand the flow of data. This is a little different. It's if I click on the switch, it doesn't even tell me where this number is coming from. It's just, like as I press 1, 2, and 3, it changes, but it's just a constant number. It's not even a reference to anything. So it would be really hard for me to figure out where that number is coming from. Why is it changing? So I'd have to kind of look around and be like, oh, well, there's something changing over here. And oh, I guess it's this Python that's changing it. So it is handy, and we do need Python for some things. But if your goal is to just reduce the number of operators on the screen by packing it into some Python, it's probably not the best reason to use Python. And again, I've explained this before. If you ask ChatGPT for some solution to a TouchDesigner problem, most often it will give you information about operators and parameters that do not exist because it may be working on information from years ago. I don't know. And I think it just makes things up sometimes. But then the other thing it will do is kind of give you a bunch of Python code and say, yeah, just stick that into an operator, which is not great because it makes these things kind of unreadable. So again, there are times where we need Python, and we are using Python in the actual parameters here. But I would say, just sticking the logic into an operator, a chop exec or a script operator is maybe not like ideal for this environment where we're really interested in following the flow of data from one operator to another, not just writing text code. So I hope that helps. Let me know. I don't know what's happened here. I don't know. I broke something. But anyway, the alpha is gone. There we go. So we've got it working, and you've seen a couple ways to do it. Okay, thanks.